All right, I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee to order for May 4th, 2021. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Baum, Camper, Freeman, Gant, Hawk, Hazelwood, Lynn, Ogles, Todd, Whitson, Williams, Wendell, Chairman Hicks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Members, any announcements or personal orders before we begin? Good to see you. It's been a while. Seeing none, all right, we will get started. We've got one bill on our calendar today, and that is item number 1, House Bill 490 by Chairman Terry. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized on House Bill 490 for a description.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This bill, as amended, has 5 main goals or main parts to it. First, it sets up a medical cannabis commission in order to help develop a non-biased medical cannabis program for when the federal government removes cannabis from Schedule 1. Number 2, it sets up a process for decriminalizing possession of 0.9% THC cannabis oil for limited number of patients with limited number of diseases. Currently, 0.9% oil is decriminalized in this state for epilepsy and seizures. This adds 8 conditions to that. It has the commission prioritize their recommendations for the creation of a patient registration system in order to facilitate reciprocity and access for patients, including those 9 groups of patients, to obtain the oil. It prohibits what I call corporate medical cannabis program. In other words, if it's cultivation, distribution, processing, or shipping of cannabis until cannabis is removed from Schedule 1, that definition excludes the patients and potential research protection. So in the event that we want to advance research or other patient protections, this bill to this committee, this bill has been funded in the budget. Speaker Sexton is supportive of the language. Governor Lee has removed his philosophical flag on the bill. Departments of Safety and Health, as well as the sheriffs and chiefs of police, are deferred. And last I checked, the bill was in the Senate Calendar Committee.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 490? Chairman Wendell, you're recognized.
Dr. Terry, could you please clear me up? Did you say that Tennesseans can now produce the oil on a commercial basis or for research only, or what is the current, what does this bill provide with respect to the manufacture or the production of cannabis oil in Tennessee, if any?
Thank you. This does not allow for the production of cannabis oil, but it does not, in the event, there's an exclusion in there for research. Currently, universities like MTSU or Tennessee Tech, if the DEA gives them approval, they can produce up to 0.6 oil at those universities, but this does not create any process by where the state would be creating cannabis.
Chairman Wendell.
Just 2 follow-up questions. Does this bill allow for an individual to apply for a research license to produce cannabis oil, or is it only universities or a government entity?
Chairman Terry.
Thank you. That's not in the bill. This is, it sets up a commission for in the event that, or when the feds reschedule cannabis, that we will, they will give us recommendations on how we would go about what I would call a corporate cannabis program. So it does not allow for any licensure or anything.
Final question, and I don't mean to dominate the time, but final question.
Chairman Wendell.
Where does the cannabis oil used by the Tennesseans come from? Who produces it? Where is it manufactured? And how does it reach Tennessee?
You're recognized.
Thank you. Great question. And that's, it would be in other states that have legalized it. Somebody would have to go to that other state. Currently, the 0.9% oil that those that have seizures have it, they have to have that letter from their physician, and they either go to another state or they get it from another state.
Just one follow-up, Mr. Chairman, and this is simply as a result of the inquiries I received from numerous constituents. If Tennessee is going to legalize marijuana in any form, it is grossly unfair for Israelis, Canadians, Germans, Kentuckians, New Yorkers, Texans, Belgians, whatever nationality or state, to be able to compete in a world market and grow a legal substance in 80% of the world. And we continue to lock out young men and women in Tennessee from being able to produce a crop that is legal the world over. It's simply unfair for young Israelis to be able to compete in the world market, and we're going to tell Tennesseans that they can't. It's wrong, and it's anti-capitalist.
Chairman Terry.
Thank you. I'm not sure. I mean, I agree with you that ideally we would be having our own program here. I've tried to run bills in the past that do that, but that's not what this bill does. I'm looking to advance this for patients.
Thank you. Representative Lynn.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. It sounds like you're saying there would be a commission, there would be no doctor would be licensed or authorized to dispense or prescribe?
Chairman Terry.
That is correct. This sets up a commission. It's a 9-person commission, 3 appointed by the governor, 3 from the lieutenant governor, and 3 from the speaker. And they will look at this issue, everything from when they deschedule it or reschedule it at the federal level. What process do they want patients to have to go through? What providers it would be, where it would be available, taxation, anything like that. But this does not give license to anybody right now. This is just, it sets up that commission for them to look at that. The thought process being that it's likely that the feds are going to deschedule or reschedule within the year. They passed a bill last year, the House did, the MORE Act, which would have descheduled it. Chuck Schumer on the Senate side has expressed interest in doing that, and the World Health Organization and the UN have taken it off that most restrictive list. And so the thought process being that we're out of session, they deschedule, and then all of a sudden come in next year, we may have 15, 20, 30 different versions. But if we have someone looking at that, then it would help us be more focused and have a Tennessee proven result.
Representative Lynn.
Oh, thank you very much. Dr. Terry, I always hear conflicting things about medical marijuana and whether someone becomes, inebriated or not. And so I would just like to say for the record, something I'd really like the commission to look at is workers' comp. If you have factory workers on medical marijuana and they are slightly inebriated, I mean, it can be dangerous enough to work with machinery at a factory. But if they are inebriated, what do we do about workers' comp and the employer's liability and their rates versus, having an employee who might be slightly impaired? And then I have police officer friends who are just concerned about whether someone would have a card or not. How would the police know, and how will it will affect the criminal code for Schedule 6? So those are just some things. As long as there's going to be a commission, I'd just like to put that on record. So thank you.
Chairman Terry.
Thank you. So this bill does not impact the ability for an employer to do the drug-free workplace. They can test. So if somebody, was able to get the oil, they had, MS or whatever, they can still test them. This bill, it has a letter of attestation from the physician. The physician has to have, they have to have a bona fide, in other words, physician-patient relationship where they are, the physician has gone through all the workup for that. Also, the letter has to attest that they have tried conventional treatment. So we passed right to try in 2015. So, this is the conventional treatment has not alleviated all their symptoms. So they're potentially would be able to try. To your police officer's point, this does not set this particular bill as it is written does not set up does not give somebody a medical marijuana card or anything like that, but it does have the commission look into that to give us recommendations for what we need to do for reciprocity.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, you are setting up a council, and I'm sure that's where the funding is coming from to fund this council meeting X number of times a year. Can you talk to us about when they meet? Are they reporting back to us? And if so, how much are they reporting annually? How is the reporting mechanism?
Chairman Terry.
Thank you. Yes, their first meeting would be October 1st of this year. Their first report would be January 1 of 2022, so that when we come back into session, they would have this some information, recommendations for us for bills that we could do during session.
Leader Camper.
And would they be required to continually give us reports, or is that one-time report or does this bill address that?
Chairman Terry.
Thank you. It's the report must be submitted in writing to the chief clerks of the Senate and House of Representatives. Let's see, no later than January 1 each year, beginning 2022.
Leader Camper.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that. Also, we've had on the floor a couple times this session, toward the end of the session, where bills were referred back to committee. Should they change substantially, would you agree that you would do the same? Would you refer it back to the committee?
Chairman Terry.
Thank you. I'm amenable to that. I have told others and have said that I'm not taking amendments on this bill. I would consider that unfriendly. I've worked with the Senate on this, worked with other stakeholders on this, and it's not my intent to take any other amendment. And if something happens on the House floor, then I'd be willing to do that.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, you mentioned that we're expanding the drugs or the diseases that this oil could be used for from 2 to 8. Could you just list those for us, please?
Chairman Terry.
Absolutely. Thank you. Alzheimer's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or ALS, cancer, and there's restrictions on that, inflammatory bowel disease, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, HIV or AIDS, and sickle cell disease.
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Representative Ogles.
Thank you, Chairman. And to the sponsor, we're looking over the bill right now, but I don't see, would for instance, the advertising restrictions, would that come under the, say this bill passes and now it's available to an expanded group of Tennesseans. How are they going to find that out? Are we going to see billboards all over the city that say, now you can get this product, or how is that information going to be distributed? What restrictions are in place? I know something we changed recently with sports betting. A lot of my constituents were surprised to see overnight that industry owned every billboard within a 20-mile radius of Nashville, it seems. So my question is what mechanism for either advertising or distribution, and will that fall under the privy of the council? Thank you.
Chairman Terry.
Thank you. I wouldn't expect until if the commission say it gets rescheduled and the commission it says actually under there let me find it here. On page 8, it would say other issues relevant to the medical use of cannabis. So I think it would fall under that. And so you saying that on record, I think that's something that I appreciate that, and that's something that the commission should look at.
Representative Ogles.
Thank you. I just want to go on the record to say that I agree with many parts of this bill and the expanded medical use. However, I think we need to be very diligent and careful how we advertise products. We've seen in the past how we've oversaturated markets with certain products and the adverse effects long-term that has had on our state. So thank you, sponsor.
Thank you for the comments.
Further discussion. Seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 490, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 490 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman Committee.
All right, thank you. Members, that completes our calendar for today. Do we have any further business coming before the committee? Seeing none, I think that's it. That's all we got. All right, seeing none, we stand in recess.
Folks, we're going to do a little shuffle up here, and full finance is going to start in 5 minutes. Finance full in 5 minutes. So members on the committee, please arrive. Thank you.